Alright, so sorry about this camera quality. I'm taking this on my laptop right now because I was having problems with my phone. So hopefully as my channel continues, I can get a better one. But we're just gonna have to deal with me looking like a ghost today. Anyway, welcome to my channel. This is my first YouTube video. And I kind of wanted my first video to be a little story about myself, in terms of what my intention and motivation for creating this channel is. On my Instagram account, I post a lot of stuff about nutrition. I post a lot of my food, a lot of recipes, things like that. And one of the most common questions I get on my Instagram, I don't get a lot, but one of the questions I do get asked quite frequently is where my motivation comes from, in terms of eating healthy and working out and stuff like that. So I thought that this video could be a little insight on that, to kind of make everything a bit more relatable and put it in perspective. So yeah, I'm just gonna get right into it. Okay, so when I was 12 years old, I was playing competitive soccer. I'd recently just switched clubs to Ajax, and on this team, we brought in a nutritionist to kind of introduce us to healthy eating for performance and things like that. So that was my cat. Anyway, so my team brought in a nutritionist and we had a seminar. And in this seminar, I learned for the first time what carbs, protein, and fat were. And specifically, I learned what sugar was, what refined sugar was, what foods had it, what sugar does to the body in large amounts, and things like that. So after that seminar, at 12 years old, I decided I wasn't going to have sugar anymore. So that meant like no candy, pop, chips, anything like that. And I stuck with it. From then on, I never had another piece of chocolate, never had candy, cake, anything, nothing. Which may seem impressive for someone that young to make that decision. But looking back on it, it's kind of a bit alarming that I decided right in that moment to cut it out, and I stuck with it. I had a lot of willpower at that age, and I think that kind of stemmed from, yes, I wanted to be healthy, but I also associated sugar as being bad, as in sugar might make me fat. And just to expand on that, from a young age I had body confidence, body image issues. I always thought that I was the fat kid. I always thought I was bigger than all my friends. I never wore jeans or tight-fitting shirts. I literally only wore track pants and sweaters in elementary school because I didn't like how I looked. So yeah, when I was 12, I learned about this food thing, whatever. I decided to cut out sugar. So I started eating healthier when I was 12. Healthy for me at the time was like cheese and crackers, swapping out white bread for whole wheat bread, having whole wheat pasta, having rice chips instead of regular chips, having whole grain granola bars, things like that. And I stuck with it. I did a good job with my eating. But for some reason, I want to say maybe 4 or 5 months after that seminar, I started developing a phobia for fat in food. And there was one point, I don't remember the exact period of time, but I totally started restricting my eating. And I was avoiding foods that had a lot of fat in them. This was in grade 8. And so I wasn't eating. I wasn't eating foods with fat in them. And every day I would weigh myself, and when I was showering, my mom's shower, if you look out of it, you can see yourself in the mirror. When I was showering, I would look at myself to see how small I was getting. And one night, my mom told me she was making pierogies for dinner. And I went and looked at the nutrition label, and I saw that there was like 14 grams of fat and however many pierogies. And I freaked out. I like absolutely lost it, and I said, I'm not eating it. I'm not eating it. Obviously my mom wanted to know why. Like, why didn't I want to eat pierogies? And I just started crying. And she looked at me, and I remember she asked me, have you not been eating? And when I didn't respond, we went upstairs, and she made me take my clothes off and step on the scale. And I'd probably lost about 5 to 7 pounds in a really short period of time. And I remember I was looking at myself, and I could see like the bones in my back. So obviously my mom was really alarmed. So she decided to take me to see the nutritionist that my team had been seeing individually. And when I told Michelle, that's the name of the nutritionist, like how I was afraid to have the fatty foods and I hadn't really been eating, she explained to me and educated me on why fat is important, especially for females. So from that point on, I was like, okay, and I went back to eating my regular foods, eating a lot of variety, eating a lot, and like I was fine. Keep in mind, like I did still have like body image, body confidence issues, but I was eating fine. Fast forward to 2014, just at the end of 2014 in grade 9. At that point, probably December of 2014, I was kind of in a bad spot. I'm not really going to get into where, but I was in a bit of a bad situation, and pairing that with my body image issues and stuff like that, I started focusing a lot on how I looked, and I felt really out of control in my life at that point. So part of my brain told me that if I looked a certain way, if I was skinny, I'd be more pretty, and if I was pretty, then these problems in my life would go away. And that if I couldn't be in control of what was going on in my life, then I could control what I was eating and how I was exercising. So I started doing the Kayla Itness 12-week bikini body guide. I'm sure everyone's heard of that. It's pretty popular on Instagram. So I started doing that, and then I started following the diet templates that she had in her book. So yeah, as I was doing that, I was looking at the template, and I remember thinking, well, if I just cut this out, then I'll get my results quicker. If I just cut this out, I'll get my results faster. So as time progressed, I just started cutting out more and more foods and eating less and less and less in hopes of losing weight, to help deal with whatever problems that was going on. That was my rationale for it. Unfortunately, I started severely restricting what I was eating. A typical day of eating for me looked like waking up at 4 a.m. because I was hungry, because I wasn't eating, so I couldn't sleep, and then I'd wake up at 4 to eat. I'd have like half a cup of blueberries, 2 egg whites, and a small piece of pita. That was my breakfast. Didn't have a snack between breakfast and lunch. For lunch, I'd have a cucumber that I hollowed out, and I'd put lunch meat, like 2 slices of lunch meat in it, and I'd eat that for my lunch. No snack between lunch and dinner, and then I don't even remember what I would have for dinner on those days, but it wasn't a lot. So that continued for quite a few months, and unfortunately, in hopes of losing more weight, and when situations would get really bad, I would often turn to other methods of weight loss, like laxatives, self-induced vomiting, detox teas, all that, which I'm not proud of, but that's the truth, and that's what I did, and that was the behavior I was engaging in hopes of changing how I looked, in hopes of being able to cope with what I was dealing with at that point in my life. So as that continued, again, I stopped doing the bikini body guide, but I just continued to do cardio, wasn't lifting weights. I would literally spend 45 minutes to an hour a day doing cardio or core, like abs. I would go to the gym and just spend my time doing abs. I had this circuit I would do, and I would not stop unless I totally finished it. Like, it was very obsessive. I looked at exercise as a way of burning calories to lose weight. That's it. So I developed a really negative, bad relationship with exercise and food. Unfortunately, the problems in my life weren't getting any better. They were getting worse, and I just kept going down this dark place, dark hole. And I was really good at hiding it. People obviously noticed that I was losing weight, but I wasn't really questioned on it. I was lying to people who were really close to me, especially my mom. I was being very deceitful. I was very rude and agitated all the time because I was hungry, and when you're hungry, like this happens with everyone, you get angry. But I was in a constant state of starvation, basically. So yeah, I wasn't myself. I had no motivation to play soccer. I didn't want to play soccer. My body hurt all the time. I was a goalkeeper, and I remember at one point I just had these huge bruises all over my body because I was so small that I couldn't take the impact of diving or anything like that. I think at my smallest, my lowest weight, I was about 112 pounds, which for me, I naturally sit between 155 and 160 pounds. So 112 pounds was way outside of my growth percentile. I shouldn't be that weight. I shouldn't have been that weight. So yeah, these behaviors, this weight loss continued until June of 2015. I remember on June 30th, I was at my friend's house, and I had this really weird, like, feeling rush over me. I was at my friend's house thinking about food, planning to go home and just binge on a bunch of cereal and stuff like that. And I remember I texted my mom, I was like, oh mom, like when I get home, I'm gonna have so much cereal, like I can't wait to come home, which is weird, but anyway. And I told her, I need to tell you something. Because the feeling I had was that I need to tell someone, like I need to tell my mom what I've been doing, what's going on. So my mom picked me up, and I got home, and I had a very bad binge episode, right in front of my mom, and she was very concerned, obviously. And I remember we sat down on the couch, and I looked at her and I started crying, and I said, Mom, I think I have an eating disorder. And she said, why? Like, why do you think that? And I told her everything. I told her the restriction, the throwing up my lunch, the self-induced vomiting, everything. I told her everything I had been doing. And she started crying. We couldn't really talk about it for a long period of time because I actually had a meeting with my coach, like, that night. So we drove to my coach's house. And in the meeting, I was sitting there, my coach was talking, and I all of a sudden got this, like, really intense pain in my stomach, like, really, really sharp pain. It was very profound, like, I couldn't ignore it, it was there. But I kept it together, and then when me and my mom left, got in the car, I said, Mom, like, I really don't feel well, I have a really bad stomachache. So I ended up falling asleep in the car in, like, the fetal position, and then when we got home, I came right upstairs and went right into my bed. And I woke up in the middle of the night, and I had the pain, but it felt like it got, like, 100 times worse. It was really bad. And it had moved, like, more into, like, my upper abdomen, like, right under my sternum, it felt like. It felt like this big ball of immense pressure. And, like, I called my mom into my room, and I was explaining to her what I was feeling, and she laid in my bed with me, and she was trying to, like, hold me, like, comfort me, trying to, like, make me fall asleep. and I wasn't comfortable at all. And I said, like, Mom, I think I need to go to the hospital. So we went to the hospital, Bowmanville Hospital. I got admitted right away, and I fell asleep when we got into the emergency room, but I know I was given a couple medications to kind of calm the pain. But at Bowmanville, when they couldn't figure out what was wrong, they ended up sending me in an ambulance to Oshawa General, where they had a pediatrics unit. So I got transported to the emergency room in Oshawa, and they were running a bunch of tests on me. They had ended up giving me morphine to try to calm the pain because I literally was screaming bloody murder. Like, I was so embarrassed the next day because of how I was acting, but I was in so much pain. I just was screaming. It was awful. The worst pain I've ever felt in my life. Once I had been hooked up to the morphine, I did fall asleep again. And eventually that night the pain subsided, but like my stomach was really tender. So anyway, I got admitted to the hospital on June 30th. And I stayed there for 4 days. And what they found out was that I had an ileus, and basically in layman's terms, what an ileus is my small intestine stopped working, like it stopped moving, so everything was just sitting there, and that's what was causing the immense pain. And I later learned that that was from self-induced vomiting. So I was when I left the hospital, my mom had told the doctor, like in the pediatrics unit, about the eating disorder, how I thought I had an eating disorder. And basically all he told me and my mom was that I could call the Oshawa Outpatient Eating Disorder Clinic and go from there. So we did. But I didn't get in to see the people there until October of 2015. So from July to October, me and my mom were kind of left on our own to figure out a recovery plan for me. I ended up telling my nutritionist. I was really close with my nutritionist, and her and my mom were basically my biggest support from July to October. Keep in mind, because we didn't have a lot of direction between that period of time, I was still engaging in a lot of those unhealthy negative behaviors. So yeah, between then I hadn't really gained any weight back. My mental health and coping skills weren't that great still. When I finally did get in to see the specialist at the clinic on October 28th, I believe, of 2015, I went through a bunch of tests, psychological tests. They weighed me, everything like that. And when I met with the full team, so there's a dietitian, a psychologist, a social worker, at the end of the day, they diagnosed me with anorexia nervosa binge purge subtype. They told me I had bradycardia, which is a very low resting heartbeat. I think my heartbeat was at like 38, which it's not because it was a strong heart, it was a very weak heart. They told me I wasn't allowed to play soccer until I was healthier. By then I had also lost my period because I didn't have enough fat in my body to support that process. And I remember I was just absolutely devastated. I was bawling my eyes out right on the spot. Me and my mom just sat in that room crying. When I left that day, I ended up going back the next week. And after my second time there, me and my mom decided that we weren't going to continue going to the clinic for treatment just because I didn't personally like the way that they were approaching it. So we made my own recovery team. That was my pediatrician, my doctor, my naturopath, my nutritionist, and I started seeing a therapist again. So yeah, it was definitely a rocky road from then on. A lot of ups and downs. Recovery is never a straight path for eating disorders or any mental illness. But with time, I learned a lot of coping skills to deal with the stressors in my life. I stopped engaging in those negative behaviors that I was engaging in. And I developed a better relationship with food again. I was still eating very healthy, but not restricting. And this October actually will be 3 years post eating disorder for me, which I'm so happy about. And I'm very proud of that. It was a lot of hard work, and it was a very dark road, a very dark spot in my life, but I wanted to share that story with everyone because I think it speaks a lot as to why I'm so passionate about nutrition, and why I share so much about it on Instagram. A couple days ago, I was watching this TED Talk by my friend Sam, and one of the questions he asked in his speech was, how can you change the world? And that really inspired me, and I think that by starting this channel and sharing my story, I may not be able to change the world on a large scale, but I may be able to help someone else. I may be able to inspire other people, and that's really what I want to do. I've been through hell and back with like food, nutrition, health, and wellness. So I really want to make it like a personal mission of mine to impact someone's life, even in the smallest way. So yeah, that's why I wanted to share this story. In terms of what my channel will be about, I will talk about eating disorder recovery, if that's a topic that people want me to talk about. I'll be sharing lots of nutrition, like recipes, CrossFit. I want to make a video about CrossFit, so I'll probably do that soon. But I really wanted to start with this just so we could get on a relatable scale, a very vulnerable, truthful, raw picture of me and who I am. So yeah, if you'd like to see more, please subscribe to my channel. Give this video a thumbs up. I'd really appreciate it. And if anyone has any questions or comments, please do not hesitate to message me on Instagram. I love connecting with people and talking to people. So yeah, thanks for watching, guys. Bye.